The Ford E-Series, also known as the Ford Econoline in Mexico and Ford Club Wagon, is a line of full-size vans and truck chassis from the Ford Motor Company. The line was introduced in 1961 as a compact van and its descendants are still produced today, though they are scheduled for replacement by the Ford Transit. Though the E-Series has been its own unique platform since 1968, it uses many components from the F-Series line of pickup trucks. The Econoline is manufactured solely at Ford's Ohio assembly plant in Avon Lake, Ohio after the closure of the Lorain, Ohio plant in December 2005 and the consolidation of all production at Avon Lake. As of the 2012 model year, the E-Series and the Transit Connect Compact MPV are the only vans in the Ford lineup in North America. Since 1980, E-Series has been the best-selling American full-sized van, and held 79.6% of the full-size van markets in the United States in 2007, with 168,722 vehicles sold. The E-Series is a tow vehicle, due to the available GCWR of up to 20,000 lb, and its relatively low curb weight. 95% of van sales are to commercial or fleet end users. About half are cargo vans. The E-Series cargo area features a double-wall design which leaves the exterior sheet metal less vulnerable to damage from shifting cargo. In early 2007, the E-Series was listed by Autodata as one of the top 20 best-selling vehicles in the United States, most likely due to fleet sales. In China, the Ford E-Series is manufactured by Jiangling Motors. As of 2014, the Ford E-Series is sold in North America, the Middle East, and China in LHD only. It has recently been discontinued in Mexico. 1961 a Euro 1967 compact van, based on the compact Ford Falcon, the first Ford Econoline was introduced for the 1961 model year. Sized roughly to compete with the Chevrolet Cabrera 95 and Volkswagen Type 2, which was 172.3 in long. It was originally offered as a cargo van, an 8-passenger van with 3 rows of seats and as a pickup truck. A 165 lb counterweight was fitted over the rear wheels to balance the front heavy vehicle. This was sometimes removed by later owners. The implementation of situating the driver on top of the front axle with the engine near the front wheels is called, in the US, a cab-over, short for cab-over engine configuration. In Europe it is called a Ford control vehicle. The body styling borrowed heavily from the, smaller, UK-produced, Thames 400e which had been in production since 1957 and the 1956-64 Jeep Ford Control. Instead of the rear-mounted engine used by Volkswagen and Chevrolet, the first E-Series had a flat nose with the engine between and behind the front seats. Early models had a 144 CID inline 6-cylinder engine with a 3-speed manual transmission. Later models had a 170 CID or 240 CID engines with a 3-speed manual or automatic transmission. It was an immediate success with utilities like the Bell telephone system. In its first year, 29,932 standard vans, 6,571 custom Econoline buses, 11,893 standard pickups and 3,000 custom pickups were made. The success of the Econoline led to its layout adopted in 1964 by the Chevrolet van GMC Handyvan and RJ100. It would also be utilized internationally and sold by Mitsubishi, Nissan, and Toyota, with microvans called the Subaru Sambar and the Daihatsu Hijet. Mercury Econoline, in rural Canada, where automobile dealers were scarce, the Econoline was sold as a Mercury alongside the M-Series truck lineup. Only the first generation of Econolines were sold as Mercuries. The next van sold by the division would be the 1993 Villager minivan. First generation models 1961 a Euro 1967. 1968 a Euro 1974, technically, Ford would not produce the Econoline for the 1968 model year. A United Auto Workers strike delayed the production of the redesigned model until late spring 1968. Delaying its introduction into the 1969 model year. The redesigned 1969 Econoline would mark a major change for van design in North America. In a major shift from the Volkswagen-inspired cab-over configuration seen before, the front axle was repositioned at the front end of the van. The twin I-beam front suspension was carried over from the F-Series trucks. Shedding its Falcon roots, the Econoline moved the engine forward of the driver, allowing for the use of heavier-duty powertrains, including the first V8 engines. Over the next 6 years, the Big Three would all redesign their vans in a similar fashion. The Volkswagen-style mid-engine cab-over configurations of the 1960s gave way to vans with engines in the front with a short hood. The shared components for full-size vans also switched from compact cars to full-size pickup trucks. These were the first vans used as the basis for the now popular Class C van-based recreational vehicles, a class still dominated by Ford. For 1971, the grille was redesigned, and a year later E-Series offered a new feature and a new model. Sliding rear doors were an option for 1972, as well as the High Cube van, the first van with a stripped chassis used for something other than recreational vehicles. Chateau, the top trim package Club Chateau was introduced with this generation, consisting of houndstooth fabric on all seats, air conditioning, AM/FM stereo, and the ability to accommodate 9 passengers. Second-generation models 1969 Euro 1974. 1975 Euro 1991. For the 1975 model year, the Econoline was given a ground-up redesign using an all-new platform. To improve interior room and engine access over both its predecessor and its competition, the engine was moved further forward. The hood was lengthened and flattened. A higher degree of parts commonality with the F-Series made itself known in the body styling. The vent windows, taillights, and wheels were common items between the two vehicles. In 1978, much of the Econoline's front-end design would appear on the Transit Mk2. Inside, the driver's compartment was redesigned with more ergonomic controls, many common with the F-Series. The Econoline was available in 2 wheelbases and 3 body lengths. In a massive growth spurt, the short wheelbase model was 0.5 inches longer than the previous long wheelbase model. The standard Econoline sported a 138-inch wheelbase, the longest until 1990. Passenger vans could seat between 2 and 12 passengers, depending on the number of seats installed. Standard-length wagons typically held 2 bench seats behind the driver. In 1978, a 15-passenger Super Wagon was introduced on the same wheelbase as the standard-length van, using a body extension added to the rear of the vehicle. With a full frame, its chassis could now be used for cutaway vans, the basis of buses, trucks, and ambulances. This was also the beginning of aftermarket four-wheel drive conversions for the van. For 16 years, this generation of the Econoline would continue nearly unchanged over its entire production run. In 1979, a minor facelift added a new front grille. Square headlights replaced the round units. In 1983, Ford's blue oval logo was integrated into the front grille. Van conversions became a popular alternative to sparse factory passenger accommodations. In the mid-1980s, the short wheelbase body style was discontinued, leaving the 138-inch wheelbase as standard. Although the 1986 Aerostar minivan would introduce styling far different from the Econoline, the basic styling of the full-size van would heavily influence the Ford Ranger. A stillborn variant of the Econoline, the Ford Carousel, was planned for a 1975 to 1976 introduction. A potential predecessor to modern minivans, the Carousel was discontinued due to lack of funding. Third-generation models 1975 Euro 1991. Fourth generation 1992 Euro 2007, for the first time in 17 years, the E-Series underwent an exterior redesign for the 1992 model year. A far more aerodynamic exterior was used over the same platform architecture. As before, the powertrain consisted of a 4.9L inline-6, 5.0, 5.8 and 7.5-litre V8 engines, or a 7.3L diesel V8. Inside, an all-new driver's compartment allowed for more room for drivers and improved ergonomics. On all models except the Econoline 350, the steering wheel was now equipped with an airbag. This was a first for a full-size van. The consumer-oriented Chateau Club Wagon version was Motor Trend magazine's Truck of the Year for 1992. While all 1992 Euro 1993 model year Econoline vans equipped with air conditioning used a 12 Freon, Ford began using CFC Freo 134 a refrigerant in 1994 models beginning in late summer or early fall of 1993. The Econoline received a CFC-free air conditioning system in September 1993, or earlier. The same is true for all 1994 Ford trucks and SUVs, including the Bronco, F-Series, Ranger, and Explorer. The only visible exterior change for 1995 was the deletion of the amber turn signals in the tail lights, used from 1992 to 1994 model years. In Canada, the Econoline name was dropped in favor of E-Series. 1997, a major change of the engine lineup was made in 1997. Only the 7.3L diesel remained from the year before. A 4.2L S6 V6 replaced the 300 inline 6 and the 7.5L/460 V8 was replaced by a 6.8L Triton V10. The 5.0L/302 and 5.8L/351 Windsor V8s were replaced by 4.6L and 5.4L Triton V8s, respectively. The Econoline received an updated front end with a new grille that featured an oval cutout and new lower front bumper trim. Inside, an ergonomic dashboard layout containing dual airbags was introduced. 1999 Euro 2002. For the 1999 model year the Club Wagon full-size passenger van was renamed the Econoline Wagon. The cargo van iteration remained being called Econoline. 2001 E-Series, along with a minor update, 2001 brought a major change to the Ford full-size van lineup. The Econoline and Econoline Wagon names were discontinued. For the first time on all models, the E-Series name replaced Econoline, and was sold as such in the literature on commercial vans and ambulance packages, another category dominated by Ford. Heavy-duty cutaway van models, most often used in large box vans and Class C recreational vehicles, also featured E350, or E450 badging on the front fenders. To replace the Club Econoline Wagon, Ford introduced E150 Traveler model targeted at families. The Traveler would be a short-lived model, however, as minivans and SUVs were by this point far more popular for passenger use. But as full-size vans had the towing and payload of full-sized pickups and room for 8 to 15 passengers plus their baggage, a certain segment of customers continued to buy the E-Series. 2003 facelift. For 2003, Ford updated the E-Series by enlarging the grille. The Ford logo also shifted from the hood to the grille. A new engine cover, cup holder, and glove box was also added. The year 2004 saw the replacement of the 7.3L Power Stroke diesel and the introduction of the new 6.0L Power Stroke with more power than the 7.3, but still detuned from the same engine in the F-Series due to a lack of airflow in the engine compartment. The 6.0 Power Stroke is intercooled, however, the 7.3L lacked an intercooler. Inside, a new gauge cluster was also added. It included a tachometer along with a digital odometer. In 2006, the 6.8L Triton V10 produced 305 HP in 420 lb-ft torque, 235/440 for the diesel. A hydrogen-fueled version of this engine powers an E450 shuttle bus produced since 2007, used first in airports in Vancouver, British Columbia and Orlando, Florida. Fifth generation 2008 Euro 2014 Ford introduced the new E-Series at the New York Auto Show in March 2007. The van received completely redesigned front-end sheet metal similar to that of the 2008 Ford Super Duty trucks. It has been overhauled with better handling and more payload. Updates to the front end of the van include larger headlights, a larger grille, and a longer hood than previously used on E-Series and Econoline vans. The 6.0L turbo diesel is retained on the E-Series, while Super Duty received the new 6.4L twin-turbo diesel. Gasoline engines carried over. A series of upgrades to the braking, suspension and steering systems have resulted in improvements in ride and handling, braking performance and load carrying capability, although the twin I-beam front suspension remains. Four-wheel drive is available through Ford Fleet Truck using current model year Super Duty parts. The chassis and suspension improvements have also resulted in an increase in the maximum gross vehicle weight rating from 14,050 lb to a class-leading 14,500 lb. Additionally, the maximum front gross axle weight rating is increased by about 10%, from 4,600 lb to a class-leading 5,000 lb. In 2009 the E-Series received a new dashboard, complete with Ford's new sync system, available in dash navigation and upfitter switches as used in the F-Series Super Duty trucks. Also included is a passenger side glove compartment, a first for the E-Series. Previously, the glove compartment was integrated in the engine cover. Another new 2009 option was the rear-view backup camera, which is becoming widely available throughout the industry on smaller vehicles. It is another first for Ford in the full-size van field. Ford is the first automotive manufacturer to offer a full-size van that is capable of using E85. This option is most commonly available on Ford's F-150 with the 5.4L engine. It was available on the 2009 4.6L and 5.4L engines. The 6.0 diesel was discontinued at the end of the 2010 model year. There was no diesel replacement for the 6.0 and the 6.8L V10 takes its place in the engine lineup. Ford did not offer the new 6.7 diesel found in Super Duty trucks due to space limitations. It is unconfirmed whether this means it physically does not fit or there is not enough space to cool properly. To celebrate its half-century mark, the E-Series featured a special 50th anniversary version for the 2011 model year. GCW of the E450 has been raised to 22,000 lb, up from 20,000 lb. Fourth generation Ford E-Series/Econoline models. Successor. At the end of the 2014 model year, the Econoline E-Series will be discontinued after a production run of 53 years. In its place, Ford will sell the rear-wheel drive version of the Ford Transit. Originally designed by Ford of Europe in 1965, the Transit has grown to become the equivalent of the E-Series in nearly all markets outside North America. While a globally sold vehicle, a great deal of the design work for later versions of the Transit would rely on Ford in North America. Chief among the competitors to the Transit is the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, sold in various forms in North America since 2001. Although Ford had registered the T-Series trademark, the full-size van retained the Transit name in North America alongside the Transit Connect passenger and cargo MPVs. The 2015 Ford Transit for the North American market will be released with a 6-speed automatic transmission paired to 3 engines, a 3.7L V6, 3.5L ECO Boost V6, and a 3.2L inline 5-turbo diesel. It is available in multiple configurations, with 2 wheelbases and 3 different roof height as well as 3 body lengths. Along with the cargo van and passenger van, the Transit will be sold in chassis cab and cutaway cab models. The decision to discontinue the E-Series vans is part of Ford's movement to consolidate its North American and global vehicle lines, as it has done with the Ford Fiesta, Ford Focus, Ford C-Max, Ford Fusion, Ford Mondeo, the Ford Escape, Ford Kuga, and the Ford Transit Connect. The Transit is the first full-size truck to utilize kinetic design for its styling. See also, Ford VN platform, references. External links, Ford E-Series official websites, USA Canada, Ford E-Series ambulance packages official websites, van cutaway chassis, Vintage Truck Magazine 1962 Ford Econoline van detailed article, Ford Vans E-Series, Mark's Econoline page, debut, 2008 Ford E-Series vans, 1968 €74 Ford van site, Ford Econoline in television and film, Camperize.com, info about converting the E-Series into a campervan, ThorMotorCoach.com, major converter of E-Series chassis into motorhomes.